Welcome back, everyone, to the channel. Hope you guys are all doing well. I got Derek with me here, already joined in, and make sure give me a thumbs up in the chat, everyone, if the volume's good. Sometimes my stream on my phone lags, and I'm not sure if it's actually playing or not. That's weird. It's doing that thing again with the. I can't open my own video right now. What is it doing that again for?
Well, it seems like your audio is working. I'm getting the feed over here.
Okay. All right, yeah, they gave me some thumbs up. Thanks, guys, in the chat
Excellent.
for the thumbs up. Hope you guys are all doing well today. My girlfriend's in the chat, Magdalena, and Coffee Girl, and Scott Simmons, Juan Francis 6.0. I guess you have 6 channels now. Let's see, Cable X, how you guys doing? Thanks for joining in tonight. We'll give it a minute or two, let some more people join in, and then we'll get started. But me and Derek have a bunch to share, so hopefully it should be packed full of info here. And basically, we're just going to talk about, some of the things I mentioned in my last stream, but we're going to kind of add some things to that, and then Derek's going to add some more things to that. So got 45 in the chat now. Can you please hit the likes, guys? That's greatly appreciated as well. So, I don't know if most of you caught my last live stream. That towards the no, I guess it wasn't. I guess it was the last one. I think you were on that one too, weren't you, Derek?
The last one I was not there live. The V for Vendetta one.
Oh, okay. No, never mind. It was the Money in the Bank one. That's what it was.
Right.
Yeah, that one I mentioned. I mentioned about the new moon being lunation 1256. So if you guys are just getting in, you guys might remember that. And but I'm gonna show you something. I need to give a big shout out first of all to KJ Malone. I meant to put his handle in there. I don't think he has a channel, but he's always dropping like crazy connections, and he brought something up that really connected to this whole stuff. So I got to give a big shout out to him. I guess he's in the chat right now. Yeah, KJ Malone 17 in the chat. Big shout out to you, bro. I appreciate every time you share something. It's always amazing. So, and Joseph, you're in the chat. Much love, brother. So, anyways, yeah, let's just get into it. Got 52 in the chat, so we're going to talk about the the upcoming Milwaukee Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we're going to talk about Trump and make some connections with JFK and with this guy. So hopefully, guys, that's Rittenhouse. We'll talk a bit about him as well. So with that being said, I found it interesting that yesterday it was posted on the BRICS. This is the official BRICS Twitter channel, or X, whatever you want to call it. And they posted actually a post saying Donald Trump's campaign manager says far left extremist influencer Harry Sisson will get a visit from the United States Secret Service following his tweet calling for the A. I'm just going to use the word A because I don't want to. Yeah, I'm just going to use the word A or something like that to fill in for this word, but of President Trump. So you can see that they're talking about this incident, right? And in the last video that I did about July and the money in the bank, I talked about how we are entering into lunation, which is the count of the moons, basically, starting in 1923. This is our 1256 new moon since that starting date. And so we're entering into that on July 6th. So this will be lunation 1256. And I mentioned in that stream that this phrase equals 1256. So very interesting that BRICS started off the month with essentially this phrase as they're posting this. And this was getting, I don't know how many views it got by now, but I just thought it was interesting. And then this guy, I didn't get a chance to look into him, Harry Sisson. But he's a big influencer, far-leaning left influencer on Twitter. So, and again, another interesting part about this is that The new moon is on July 6th with his 7/6. And Donald John Trump equals 76. Of course, Skull and Bones also equals 76. And it's worth mentioning that this date will also be George W. Bush's 78th birthday. Trump just turned 78, and this will be George W. Bush's 78th. Remember, on George W. Bush's 76th birthday, you had the Guidestones going down near Atlanta, and Trump just, had the debate in Atlanta with CNN. And so there's probably something huge. The fact that it's the 2-year anniversary of the Georgia Guidestones going down is also interesting. I didn't really look. Did you look into that at all, Derek? The Guidestones?
Yeah, a little bit. It was 722 days before the debate the other night in Atlanta, and I didn't include it in my video, but there was a connection for sure.
Yeah. I just thought that was also, and don't forget, in the I Pet Goat film, the short, most of you guys know what that is. Is George W. Bush is wearing the hat on it that has the D on the front, which I think represents Donald. And of course, Donald Trump has a lot of head wound symbolism as well. We've seen a lot of that. But so this is what KJ Malone brought up to me, and this is kind of what got my wheels spinning even more. And I shared this with Derek when I found it out because I thought it was crazy. But so I told you guys that it was going to be all about lunation 1256, because lunation 1256 goes from July 6th to August 3rd. So the whole month will be part of this lunation. And Trump, of course, not only will he be getting sentenced on July 11th, so he's going to be big in many ways this month, but he'll be getting sentenced on July 11th. And then on July 15th to the 18th, he will be involved in the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. Well, what's interesting about that is, what are the chances that the venue that Trump's going to be at for this is the Pfizer? Is that how you say that? Pfizer?
It's Pfizer.
Okay. Pfizer Forum. And what are the chances that equals 1256 in the same cipher as this phrase? And of course, this is coming. And essentially, you could say that July 15th is another 7/6 date, because you add the 1 and the 5. So you're essentially getting the same date as the start of lunation 1256 on July 6th, and then he starts the convention on July 15th. So that's just crazy to me, the 1256. So we're going to have to be watching to see if there's anything coming up with the 1256s this month. Just like last month, we had a lot of 255s and 1250. We had a lot of 255s. I know that. So I just think it's crazy that this is exactly where he's going to be having this convention. And immediately when I thought of Milwaukee or Wisconsin, well, first of all, Wisconsin equals shooting in one cipher, 44 in the reduction cipher. So, and Wisconsin's had its fair share of shootings, and Derek probably can recall more than I can because Derek's from Wisconsin. But it's a state that when I think of shootings, I think of Wisconsin. So, but one of the things what KJ Malone also shared was that, so between the founding or the official recognizing of Milwaukee County, and isn't it interesting, Derek, that it was initially brown, like we're talking about brown lunation?
Yeah, I didn't even know that. I know about Brown County. I didn't realize that they were one and the same, because Milwaukee has a lot of moon numbers, which is exhibited the best through the Brewers, but that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just thought it was interesting that we're talking about brown lunation 1256, and Milwaukee County was attached to Brown County for judicial purposes until August 25th, 1835. And if you go from that date to the founding and the incorporated date of the city Milwaukee, it's 125 months and 6 days. Now, this is the lunation number, again, that we started with here. And this is the gematria of this phrase and the place where Donald Trump's going to be at for the convention. And it just so happens that from Milwaukee County to Milwaukee City, you get this 1256 number again. And it even has the brown lunation tie, because we're talking about brown lunation 1256. So
I do have something to add to this measurement as well.
Okay.
I don't know if it's easy for you to show my screen quick, but this same measurement that you're showing is 10 years, 5 months, and 6 days. And if you measure from the date that the Bucks won the world championship in the NBA at Fiserv Forum, that was exactly 156 weeks before the convention starts. And 156 is the ordinal gematria of Milwaukee Bucks. And of course, we just had the Boston Celtics win a championship this year, and they also have the 156. Of course, the name of the forum, Fiserv, this is like a financial service company. And think about the team name, the Bucks, in relation to dollars. So just as you mentioned with Ripple, remember having a connection to the WWE show coming up, and you pointed out that I think it was Joshua Fatu or maybe Jonathan. I can't remember. One of these was 1256.
It's in the Jewish. It was Joshua Fatu in Jewish.
Sure. So on the first day of Lunation 1256, we have the pay-per-view in Toronto. So, and that's at the Scotia Bank Arena. And the show there is called Money in the Bank. So there's a strong money theme with all of these events this month.
Yeah, and I'll talk a bit about that towards the end of mine. I added a few slides connecting to the massacre that happened on June 17th that was in Corpus Christi, Texas, and that was at American Bank's arena. And I tied that in with money as well, because they actually had a clue for money too, because Pluto is also very connected to wealth as well. So we have all this connected to Pluto. I'll speak about that in a bit, but it's also going to tie in with what Derek just shared. So yeah, that's a great addition to that. I didn't even notice because I wasn't looking for the 156. But of course, guys, you know that's also 9/11 is the 156 prime number. So there's a 9/11 tie also with that. So let's see. So going back to the 1256 between the county of Milwaukee County to the city is 125 months and 6 days. And then I started thinking about, okay, well, I know there was a really big incident with this man, Kyle Rittenhouse, in Milwaukee, just south of Milwaukee. Isn't it? It's just south of Milwaukee, right? Kenosha is just south.
Yeah, it's 2 counties south.
Okay. So you guys might remember this. If you guys have been part of this community for a while, you might have, or even if you haven't been, you probably heard of this incident where, in self-defense, supposedly he gunned down people that were trying to attack him. It was part of the Kenosha unrest after the shooting of, what was that guy's name again? Remember?
Jacob Blake was the guy who originally got shot.
Yeah, so Jacob Blake was originally, and then 2 days later, this event happened. And so this is what adds on to it. I told you guys that lunation 1256 is all tied to this number with Trump and this phrase. And then on lunation 1256, essentially on the same day, I think it's lunation. I think it actually the 11-12 weeks or the 11-22 weeks actually starts on July 5th. And so what are the chances that this guy, part of the huge Wisconsin-Milwaukee incident with guns, he will be 11-22 weeks old on this day, on this 1256. And it's not just that, guys. His name equals 11-22. So in the same cipher is all these other connections I just made. And of course, that's a huge connection to another incident with a president being taken out with JFK, because JFK ASS equals 11-22. So how perfect that this guy in this big month of July that we're talking about is turning 11-22 weeks old on that day. And not only that, but you guys know that this code, right? So he's turning 11-22 weeks on the 187th day of the year, July 5th. And that is the gematria of this phrase, JFK equals 187 and 11-22. So the guy's turning 11-22 on 187 day of the year. And of course, the murder code is connected with that too. You don't even need gematria. That's just a murder code for the police, the 187. So that just seems too perfect to me. And yeah, that's I thought just insane.
Yeah, and real quick too, the Kyle Rittenhouse trial ended 1 year and 87 days after the shooting. And Kyle Rittenhouse was 187 months old when Fiserv Forum opened up back in 2018. And of course, ancient accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry, 187. And the convention at Fiserv Forum ends on the 18th of July or 18/7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that number was something I was actually talking about in my last couple streams, really, because I noticed that number was, remember the show. What's the chances that the movie or the show, Those About to Die, is coming out on that same date, 18/7? And yeah, I talked about that code a lot. And I talked about it last month a lot because it was connected with the WWE event with Chad Gable. And so another quick thing to point out here is from the, what was this from? Oh, so again, I told you guys that the founding of Milwaukee County, of course, the convention is in Milwaukee, but the founding of the county just happens to be on the same date as the Kyle Rittenhouse unrest shooting. Okay. So that means that the shooting or the Kyle Rittenhouse incident was on the 2220th month exactly of the founding of Milwaukee County. And I immediately thought order out of chaos equals 222.
Milwaukee Bucks also 222.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. So yeah, that connects with the Bucks again. We just had the 156 connection you shared. So yeah, definitely a lot to connect. I'm sure Derek's going to show that in a minute. And another connection is that instead of doing it in months, if you measure that span, if you measure that distance in just years, it happens to be 185 years between the Milwaukee County founding to the Rittenhouse incident. And that's and look what it says right here. The guy that he supposedly he killed was Joseph D. Rosenbaum. And this is equals 185. So this happened 185 years after the founding of Milwaukee County. And this is the first victim that they say. And of course, Donald John Trump also equals 185 in the same cipher. And I this is a number I do look at when connecting to market crashes as well. I believe stock market crash or stock market collapse equals 185. I also believe US dollar collapse equals 185. So that's something to think about too, because I've noticed that number 185 connected with collapsing markets and money. There's a few different phrases that equals 185. And another thing to bring into this is that I've been mentioning a lot that the United States is turning 248 years old on July 4th, 1 or 2 days before what we've been talking, the 7576 day. And the 248 is obviously very connected with Trump because this phrase, if you just shorten it to Trump, ASSINATION, it equals 248. And again, America turning 248, President Donald Trump 248. And you'll recall that Trump got his mugshot in Atlanta on the date last year 24/8. And Pluto, the planet of secrets and the planet of also wealth, is the underworld too. And so Pluto was demoted on that day in 2006. And what's interesting is the same day that Trump got his mugshot on 24/8, Bray Wyatt, the wrestler, died. And Bray Wyatt, one of his very last big speeches that he gave that I can remember because I remember watching it was in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So Bray Wyatt, he was talking about a rebirth. If you guys can look it up on YouTube, but it's the Friday the 13th episode of Raw last year on January 13th, 2023. Bray Wyatt gave a huge speech about being reborn. And it was definitely connected. Looking back now, it was definitely connected to this Pluto stuff. And of course, Pluto has a 248-year orbit. Well, because what happened, the reason I know in hindsight that this whole speech that Bray Wyatt gave last year was connected to Pluto is because after Bray Wyatt died on August 24th, his brother also was a wrestler, and they started making teasers and trailers for the return of essentially the new Wyatt family. It was Bray Wyatt. He used to be the leader of the Wyatt family, and now his brother began giving these cryptic messages about the return of a new Wyatt family. And if you guys watch my prior videos, you've seen me talk about this. But they were giving us the Pluto symbol. Like this whole thing was about Pluto. In fact, the group's symbol is the Pluto symbol. And so this connects with Bray Wyatt dying on the 248 date, the day Pluto was demoted. And then his brother, Bray Wyatt's brother, coming back with the Pluto symbol, being reborn. And the eclipse was also given inside of this. And they had been teasing that there was going to be a countdown clock to June 17th on Monday Night Raw and Corpus Christi. I did a whole video about this if you guys missed it. Well, they were saying that there's going to be a massacre coming. And they, in fact, even gave us the date. In a normal year, the date June 17th falls on the 168th day of the year with 197 days remaining. And you guys can see at the bottom of this was a screenshot of after they hacked the website, Bray Wyatt's brother's Wyatt family, they wrote this. And in fact, if you read this whole thing, they talk about currency at the very top of this, which also ties right again back to currency stuff. But at the very end, they say a massacre is coming, and then they give you the date June 17th. And it's funny that the convention that Trump's about to be in is going to be on essentially the opposite. It's going to be taking place also on July 16th, which is the opposite day of the calendar of this massacre day that WWE was giving out. And of course, what ended up actually happening on June 17th was a skit that connected to a massacre or a head wound. So this is Chad Gable. I talked about this, but the whole riddles leading up to this massacre was talking about, can you keep a secret? In fact, Chad Gable was very known for going shush. He would always hold his finger up to his mouth and go shush, like secrets. And so he gets taken out with a clear head wound. I mean, you can't get any more obvious than that. And he gets taken out on June 17th, which again is the opposite day of the calendar of this Trump convention in Milwaukee. And his name, Charles Edward Betts, equals 187. And that was 70 days after the eclipse, the Great American Eclipse in Corpus Christi, which equals 70. It's connected to Jesus Christ, right? But anyway, the big number here is that his name equals 187. And this is a number I started out connecting the fact that Trump's convention, the last day of the convention is on the date 18/7. And of course, the whole phrase that they kept for months, they kept talking about is, can you keep a secret? Which also equals 187, like June 17th. So this number was what they were pointing to clearly. And what makes this even crazier to me is that not only does this guy who gets the head wound equal 187, and again, this is the homicide code. Police homicide code is 187. And just note that this man is born on March 8th. So this guy has so much taking out numbers. He's born on March 8th, which is 38 or 83. That's the big murder code. Not only that, he's born in the year 86. When you 86 somebody, you take them out. And he's 38 years old right now. And he's from Minnesota, which equals 38. So, I mean, I've never seen a guy so coded with being taken out than this guy. And just notice that he's from his last birthday on March 8th to this convention on 187 is essentially 18 weeks and 7 days. You could say 19 weeks, but in reality, you could also say it's 18 weeks and 7 days. So, and again, it lands perfectly on the date, July 18th, which is the last day of this convention. Also, if you go from the convention forward 7 months and 18 days, you land on his birthday again. So both forwards and backwards, you have this 18/7, And then you have the 7 months, 18 days from the convention to his next birthday. And the day of the year that this convention is happening on is the 200th day of the year. And of course, Chad Gable equals 200. So to me, it seems pretty interesting that they were pointing to that date pretty clearly, in my opinion. Or not just that date, but the whole time period of this convention, you know. And so the weeks after Chad Gable got his head wound, he reappears. And WWE posted this short with Chad Gable saying, Chad Gable cannot be killed. Chad Gable lives. And you guys can go watch this if you find it on YouTube. It's so symbolic because there's been people in this community talking a lot about Trump getting a head wound. Jurassic Liars has talked a lot about Trump getting a head wound and then resurrecting, just like the verse in King James Version, Revelation 13:3. And I saw one of his heads as it was wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered. And what's the chances that if you type in Chad Gable head wound, it equals Donald Trump? And this goes back to the 138 I've been talking a lot about with the Venus. And yeah, I mean, that's all I got in my slides. Derek's going to also add a bunch to this, but I just thought that this whole scenario with Chad Gable getting a head wound and lining up perfectly with this whole Trump convention and then saying that he's resurrected. Now, I've been saying for a while that this could be, a lot of people might argue with me about this, and that's fine. We can disagree on it. But this could just be a metaphorical head wound. Was Trump's mugshot the beginning of his head wound, and his sentencing, is it a metaphorical character head wound? You know, he's going to revive himself from that now. He's going to come back and win the election, right? That's kind of how I'm seeing it personally. But if there is an actual shooting, it wouldn't surprise me. But I'm just saying that we got to leave the options open because sometimes this reality is kind of a joke. So we don't always get what we think. But anyway, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share Derek's screen now, and he's going to add on to things I might have missed or add to what he's already found in his research.
Yeah, I guess what I have here is kind of taking a step back and looking at the big JFK riddle that I think really explains why this convention this year is being held in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, of all places. I mean, we're not a very big metro area. I live in Milwaukee County, born and raised here for the most part. I think we're like top 30 or 40, as far as metro areas. Now, in 2020, Milwaukee was supposed to hold the Democratic National Convention, but of course, we had the big CV thing, and that canceled it. So now Milwaukee's been rewarded with the 2024 Republican Convention. But this fact that we had a 2020 canceled convention is part of the major riddle here. So we looked at the Kyle Rittenhouse piece of this, which I'll allude to as well. This happened in Kenosha County. So you see, that's the county that's closest to Illinois. It's 2 directly south of Milwaukee. Well, my last video that I made yesterday focused on a death in Racine County, which is the county that's between the two. Now, Racine, the city, currently has a mayor named Corey Mason. And when you write out Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, 2806, on the 28th of June, the Racine County executive dropped dead, apparently while jogging, falling on a racetrack in Racine. And in my video, it's kind of out of the scope of this one, but I talked about how this was connected to the Austrian Grand Prix the very next day. And the name Rittenhouse is Austrian. So there's a lot more to that. But real quick, I wanted to touch on the number 63, how this connects JFK and Trump. Recently, we've been seeing a slew of Supreme Court rulings. We have a conservative Supreme Court 6-3. So just the other day, we had this landmark ruling that apparently makes the presidency more powerful, according to the news. So this was a 6-3 ruling. Well, when you write out the number 63, it equals 1917. And that's the year that JFK was born. 63 also equals 63. That's the year he died in. Well, if you add every number 1 through 63, you get 2016. That was the year that Trump won the presidential election. The 63rd prime number is 307. And just last week, Freemasonry turned 307 years old. So that's why you get this big Freemasonic, apparently, sacrifice story out of Racine. Now, another word that equals 1917 is Mercury, using square numbers. Mercury, the ruling planet of JFK's birth sign, Gemini. And when JFK was assassinated, I'll try not to throw it out there, but hey, it already happened, right? So
no, I don't think it's a big problem. My last video did get flagged, but I think it was because I was talking about trans, you know what?
Yeah, true that. Okay. Well, anyway, when that happened, he was exactly 193 mercurial orbits old. And the phrases JFK and ASS both 193. JFK has this connection to Milwaukee County, born exactly 1,093 lunar orbits after Milwaukee County was founded. Well, this number 193, that's the 44th prime number. And JFK was the winner of the 44th election. Wisconsin, one of 2 states, along with Georgia, by the way, which we've been talking about, that has gematria of 44. This a major kill number. Remember, the first president to be sacked was Abraham, which is 44. And then JFK, when he died, it was, let's see if I can bring this up here. Trying to find this eclipse. So JFK was assassinated exactly 44 years after this eclipse. And of course, he was killed in Dallas, which is very close to where the eclipse began. So Texas and eclipse, they both have this 69 gematria. Well, this is another number that connects JFK to Wisconsin because he was born exactly 69 years after Wisconsin was admitted to the Union. And we're talking about brown lunation numbers. Well, these go backwards as well. If you go before the year 1923, there's negative lunation counts. So JFK was born during lunation negative 69 on the 69th anniversary of Wisconsin. John Kennedy equals 125, just like Wisconsin. And the city of Milwaukee, 125 months younger than the county. So Wisconsin also has this gematria of 1231. And the Georgia Guidestones were destroyed during that lunation, 1231. Well, this is the 202nd prime number. And notice how John Kennedy equals 1,202. This, of course, connects us to the year 2020. And when 2020 started, JFK was 1,231 months old, or would have been. And the year 2020 reflects these same digits as 202. So during lunation 1202, in the year 2020, we had this mass shooting at a brewery in Milwaukee. And think about Milwaukee and how it's, this is kind of the icon of the city. Miller Brewery, we had Pabst and other breweries that are worldwide. So we had this brewery shooting where 6 people died during lunation 1202, matching John Kennedy. Well, then later that year, we had the Kyle Rittenhouse shooting. That was during lunation 1208. And John F. Kennedy, with the middle initial, equals 1208. Still in the year 2020.
That was on the day leaving 128 days in the year also. In lunation 1208 on the day leaving 128 days.
Great catch. So then we also have this senator named John Kennedy. He's from Louisiana, right? And notice how he was born one day before the assassination date, November 21st. Well, just 2 days after Kyle Rittenhouse gets off the hook on his trial, we have an SUV attack at the Waukesha Christmas parade in Wisconsin. So we've had these domestic terror-like attacks of sorts. I mean, the shooting is definitely an arguable one in that category, but a lot of things have been happening in Milwaukee and Wisconsin, all by this code. So how old was Donald Trump on the date of the JFK event? He was exactly 910 weeks old. In standard, Milwaukee's 910, and in reverse standard, Wisconsin is 910. Very similar to the gematria of Fiserv also, which gives us that 610. So what are the odds that, his age on the date of the assassination matches the name of the city and state that the convention is being held in? It's just wild. This event also begins exactly 9 years and 1 month after Trump first announced his presidential campaign back in 2015. And before I go to the next slide, I actually want to talk about this date. Because when Trump announced his candidacy for president, it was on the date 6/16. June 16th or 6/16. Well, in Latin, JFK and ritual sacrifice, both 616. Ancient accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry has the 616 in the English Kabbalah. And this is a number we've seen in presidential deaths in the past as well. James Garfield was 616 lunations old when he died. And he died on 9/19, right? Which is the same number upside down. Well, on the date that the convention begins in Milwaukee, the state of Wisconsin will be exactly 9,190 weeks old. All connecting to the numbers connected with JFK. So, Cody, you caught on a great riddle in your last video about V for Vendetta. Now, this is the first election in 7 cycles, all the way back since 1996, that the presidential election fell on November 5th. The 5th of November. Remember the 5th of November. This the phrase from V for Vendetta. So I looked at this poster. We talked about freedom forever, the phrase. This has matching 1106 gematria with Fiserv Forum, 1106 in standard. Fiserv Forum, the site of the convention, also 152 and 64 to match V for Vendetta.
Wow.
Then V for Vendetta also equals 1791, which is the standard value of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And again, we're using the base methods, Latin and standard. That's all you need to see how incredibly scripted this event is.
I mean, that to me is crazy, because when I was doing that whole V for Vendetta thing last stream, I wasn't making any connections to this event at all. I started looking. I was looking at these things separately. I didn't have any idea. I didn't know about the 152 because that's also the gematria of female president and Kamala Devi Harris in that same cipher, which is also interesting, I think. And but just the fact that I was talking about this movie and it lines up with the election day, and now it's connected with this convention, it's just wild. Like,
yeah, this is like past deniability, right? I mean, It's insane. So that was a great catch. And when it comes to, November 5th, the 5th of November, consider how that date is written, 11/5 here in the United States. Well, when JFK was offed, that was on a date with 115 numerology, matching killing in multiple methods, assassin and warehouse, both 115. I think we pointed out this 148, or you did, 5th of November and Guy Fawkes Day, both 148, like Planet Venus and Morningstar. And when you look at Trump's age for the election, he'll be exactly 1,048 sidereal months old, which matches his name, Donald John Trump. And as far as that 1189, Well, look at JFK's age when Fiserv Forum opened. You have the 101 years, 89 days, like 1189. It's too weird.
You know, the Pfizer, it almost sounds like you're saying, you know what, the Pfizer sounds like, I mean, it sounds like I could probably get, it sounds like you're saying the shot company, you know what I mean? Like as in the
Oh, the Pfizer BioNTech, you mean, like the
right. That's what I started noticing when you were saying that. I thought you were like, it just every time I heard you say it, I was like, is he saying Pfizer? Because that's what it sounds like. So that might be part of the riddle too. And I also noticed that the F and the V are very interesting because you're getting this V for Vendetta and this F Pfizer Forum FF, and then of course John F. Kennedy's middle initial is F. And what's interesting about the F and the V is in German, the V sounds like an F. Like there's this like there is a connection with F and V because the sound of in German language, there's that the F sound is the V, like vowel, and so I was thinking about that because I believe there's a huge connection with Milwaukee or Wisconsin in general in Germany, and the fact that Trump is also of German heritage. So this could all connect, but I'm getting off on a tangent. But I just wanted to point that out with the F's and the V's.
Sure, and we have V, the Roman numerals 5.
Mm-hmm.
So V for Vendetta, also with matching gematria with John Kennedy, coincidentally enough. And then I also thought it was noteworthy that, remember the 5th of November, 1684, not that dissimilar from 1984. And we know about that movie. But that's also the year that Fiserv Inc. was incorporated, 1984. And that's on top of all the, connections with the movie's slogan and the name that we already had. So that's all I have for the slides, but I did want to share one or two more things from the post.
Did you mention this, Eric? Did you mention this, what I just put on the screen, this comment?
Yeah, that was one of the slides where.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was during lunation -69.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So
that's pretty crazy, actually.
Yeah, I mean they share the same birthday. It's 29/5, which is a major Skull and Bones number. Skull and Bones Society's 295, like 322.
Right.
But it's also important to note the Freemasonry riddle here because this is very strong. Milwaukee sums to 37 in reduction, and Freemasonry just turned 307 years old. And this convention begins on 15/7, which is just like the 37th prime number, 157. Convention, Fiserv Inc., all 157. 307, a major Freemason number, ancient and accepted Scottish rite. And not only is this 307 years after Freemasonry was founded, but it's also 307 weeks after Fiserv Forum opened. So another F for you, Freemasonry. The name Rittenhouse equals 307. Election day is 307 days after Kyle's birthday. A couple more JFK links as well. It'll be 334 days before Trump's birthday, which is JFK's full name in reverse. And he also has the 100, which matches Milwaukee. And the convention begins 100 lunar orbits after Trump took office. I think a big reason the Masonic connection is so heavy here is because Republican National Convention is 1848. So is ancient accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry satanic. And the state of Wisconsin was admitted to the Union in 1848 on the same date that JFK was born. So again, this transcends any idea of coincidence in my book. Another note, too, is that Republican National Convention 318, and actually, this might be wrong. I think that's wrong, because 318, that connects to 22. or 2111, not 2211. Yeah, 318th prime is 2111. But anyways, it still connects, right? Because you mentioned earlier Kyle Rittenhouse has 1122. And on the date that he killed those people in Kenosha, he was 211 months and 22 days old. Well, election day is 2211 lunar phases after Milwaukee was founded. Kyle Rittenhouse turning 1122 weeks old, matching the date JFK was offed. Yeah, it's just wild. There's a lot more connections. There's also a wrestling connection, if you don't mind, I guess.
Yeah, because I have more to talk about with the wrestling anyways, because I was just going to mention also with the whole Wyatt family thing. Part of Bray Wyatt's family, again, I told you he gave a very big speech in Green Bay, Wisconsin about being reborn. And then his brother comes back and causes a massacre. And then one of the people that was part of Bray Wyatt's Wyatt family was Braun Strowman. And Braun Strowman, I think he either lives in Wisconsin or he's from Wisconsin. But I know he
family
lives
here, yeah.
Yeah, and there was this big thing with him about going to the place where this car ran through this parade. The WWE released a big documentary about that, about him going to see the kids that had gotten hit by the car, and there's just a whole bunch of connections between the Wyatt family and Wisconsin, like with Bray Wyatt having that speech there, and then the Braun Strowman connection to Wisconsin, and then now just this what's going on now with this massacre thing that they were talking about. And so I definitely think that that's just something I wanted to add, because the whole Wyatt family thing, and I don't know if there's more connection. I'm sure there might be more, but I haven't really looked into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the big connection here is that Vince McMahon, his middle name is Kennedy, of course, the founder of WWE, who just stepped down earlier this year. And there's this wrestler that they named Mr. Kennedy. His real name is Ken. And I think he even used the name Ken Kennedy. And he's from Wisconsin. He was born in Two Rivers. And there was actually a big story out of Two Rivers earlier this year that I connected to him. But he was billed as being from Green Bay, Wisconsin. And like you mentioned, I think that was where one of Bray Wyatt's final speeches was. So let me start with the 666, because this is almost too much, right? Now, the name Donald John Trump in one of the reverse methods equals 1969, which was the year of the first Apollo landing. NASA's full name, fake moon landing, Apollo, all with 666 gematria. Like Kennedy, who was the president who promised we'd get to the moon. Inauguration Day next year is exactly 666 months after the moon landing. Vince McMahon's full name is 666 with capital letters. And he turned 6,666 days old the day after the assassination. And JFK's full name has the 665 to go along with it. And then you have this guy, Mr. Kennedy, born in Wisconsin. He was born 6,666 weeks and 6 days after Wisconsin was admitted to the Union. It's outrageous, right?
Yeah, that's insane.
So this guy, Mr. Kennedy, and now think about, we had a shooting in a city called Kenosha, Ken, like the name Ken Kennedy, Kenosha.
Yeah.
Well, on the date of that shooting, Mr. Kennedy had the 244 in his age, which is Kenosha. This is a number connected to the kill code. Kill in Hebrew is 244. Kennedy's age for the convention, 580 months and 9 days old, just like Donald Trump. Kyle Rittenhouse's age was 985 weeks old when he was acquitted. And there's a big skull and bones riddle with Kyle Rittenhouse that I don't want to dive too deeply into, but it kind of connects to Ken Kennedy through that also. So they went hard with the wrestling riddles with this, and I can appreciate it as a former backyard wrestler myself. But it's just strange how, we see these things pan out by the numbers ahead of time sometimes, like this ASS riddle that we're looking at today. And then somehow it plays out through a scripted program instead sometimes. Sometimes that's all it is. Hopefully nothing happens here big, especially since it's in my city. But, with all the outrage that they're inducing with these convictions and now this debate and now the Supreme Court ruling, they're trying to whip people up. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have, something groundbreaking in store, I should say. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think whatever is going to pan out, it's going to be a lot more interesting than just a normal election year. I feel like there's going to be a lot more drama, whatever it's going to be. I mean, it's already starting to look that way without even like, it's already starting to look that way with this Biden thing and the stuff that's just been happening the last few days. So I think that,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think that it's just, there's too much pointing to this election being so big because of the whole Trump thing. And I just thought it's just, we have all our theories of how it's going to play out, but it's going to be interesting to see how it actually plays out.
Yeah. So, I mean, despite all that we're saying and all these alignments, the alignments exist way down the road as well. It does look like Trump's going to take office. What happens after that? Who knows? It's only going to get crazier. If we thought the CV bug the first time he was in office was nuts, I don't know. I mean, I try not to think about it too much, but I think if everybody just keeps it cool and has their own little prepper kit, as short as it might need to be, I don't know. I don't know if that'll be necessary, but we'll see.
And I was kind of thinking about something when I stumbled upon this the other day. I was just playing with the Bible tool because I have access to it now, and I noticed something that was interesting. If you go to Genesis 1:20, how like election day is on 1:20, it equals 2025, and it equals 666, and of course,
no way.
January 25th or January 20th, 2025 is 666, like you said, months. Is it months after the moon landing?
Yep, exactly.
So I think there's a riddle there somewhere. I haven't quite found out what to do with that, but I just thought it was really interesting that Genesis 1:20 equals 2025 and 666.
Well, it also equals 1404, and National Aeronautics and Space Administration is 441.
Yeah.
So that's wild. I didn't actually see that. I would say that's a huge part, man, because this is all you need to go back and see it. Like, there's no question.
Yeah, I shared that with Sean, but I forgot to share that with you in the private chat. But it's also nice I get to share it with these people too, because I thought that was pretty insane. And because I just noticed the 2025 in there as I was scrolling down the verses, and I was like, oh, interesting. But
that is amazing.
Yeah, and in the 225, I've been thinking a lot about this number. I mean, if you drop the 0, it's 225. And
Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 225.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. And so there's this huge 225 riddle with Venus, because it takes, if you round it up, it takes Venus 225 years essentially to, or is it the orbit or is it the day? Is it the days?
It has an orbit of 224.7 days. And right. I think it's interesting this convention is in the 7th month of 2024 based on that.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, and so but when I type it in a lot of times in Google, it'll come up 225 year, because they just round it up. Like I've seen it. I know it's 224, but it just makes me wonder too, like kind of like a transition from the 224 to the 225, kind of how that's going to tie in with this. And of course, the 225 is also connected with the rose. And I've been seeing a lot of 225s recently. And I believe 225 is like 15 squared, right? Is that what it is?
Yes.
So, and I can't remember what else I was going to say about the 225. I know there was what I was thinking about was the letter V too, because the Venus connection. Well, the letter V is both the 22nd letter and the 5th if you run it reverse. And Also, of course, like you mentioned earlier, the V is in Roman numerals is also worth 5. So not only is V worth 5 in reverse in standard alphabetical order, but it's also worth 5 in Roman numeral. And then, of course, V is the 22nd letter. So I kept seeing this like 225 connection with the letter V because it connects both. So, and of course, with Venus, it has a lot of 225. And in fact, the magic square of Venus actually has the sum of the whole magic square is 1225, which is not so far off from 225. And
yeah,
I'm gonna take my screen back because I kind of want to bring this up with just this extra stuff here because so with Venus being a big theme here recently, and what I think is also connected to the election, you have this Venus magic square. Let me just bring this up. And of course, it is very interesting that Venus has the square sums to 1225, which is Christmas. And let me see if I can find it here. Oh, hold on. So what I noticed was, like I said, all I pointed out about the 225s in Venus, but the fact that the whole square sums to 1225. And so there was, what was it, what I was typing in? If you go to the Latin cipher, the word Valkyrie equals 1225. And what's interesting about that is Valkyrie was a movie released about a ASS attempt on Hitler, because it was called Operation Valkyrie. And what's even crazier is if you look in this movie, Valkyrie, it was released in the United States. Wait for it to come up here. Maybe it's going to be slow. My computer's so slow. But anyway, before I even get there, I'll just tell you guys. What's that?
I said we got to upgrade you here soon with the computer.
Yeah, much needed upgrade whenever I can get the funds. But yeah, anyways, before that loads, 1225 is the release day of the movie Valkyrie. If you look it up. So, nice. And what this connects to with Venus is because if you look up what a Valkyrie is in reality, it is a goddess in Norse mythology, and it's connected to Venus, of course, because we get the Freya, which is the Norse god, also connected with the lady or the goddess associated with love, beauty, fertility, sex, war, gold. Well, that's Venus. In fact, she is the equivalent of Venus, and she is connected to the Valkyrie, which are angel warriors who collect the dead, the dead warriors before, I think it's before Ragnarok. I think somewhere here it says that.
The WWE recently brought up this female wrestler named Valkyria.
Yeah, that's what I was going to actually get to because.
Oh, right on.
I immediately noticed this girl's name was interesting because of that. I was like, Valkyria. It made me immediately think of the Valkyrie. And let me just search it here. Let's see. I can't spell right now. Yeah, so it says right here, Freya, and this is just so you guys know, this is where we get the name Friday, and Friday is the day of Venus or the day of Freya or Frigg, which again goes back to this V and F connection, because in German, like I said, and this is a Germanic connection also, the F sounds like a V. So you have this like Freya Venus connection, F and V. And then of course, I just thought about this, but the name of that stadium or that convention stadium starts with an F and ends with a V.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some sort of connection here with the F and V's. But anyway, you can see that she is connected to the Valkyries, the female battlefield choosers of the slain, and analyzed her relation to the other goddesses. So anyway, she's connected. Friday, named after Venus, is connected to the Valkyrie. This movie that I wasn't able to bring up for you guys, Valkyrie, came out on 12/25, which is the gematria of Valkyrie. And again, the Venus magic square, which is connected to the Valkyrie and Freya, is a sum of 12/25. And what I thought was interesting is the full name of Meryl Streep also equals 12/25 in this same cipher. And it was so crazy because I was reading an article about Valkyrie and they mentioned Meryl Streep in the same article. I was like, are you kidding me? Because I saw that her full name equaled that. And I saw that way before. And then I was like reading. Then I also noticed that Valkyrie equals 12/25. And I looked up an article about Valkyrie and I saw that they were mentioning Meryl Streep. And I was like, are you kidding me? Her name equals 12/25 in the same cipher. So, and as just mentioned, Derek just mentioned, Lyra Valkyria is a new up-and-coming star in the WWE. In fact, she almost won the Queen of the Ring last month. And she comes out with these wings. These almost look like raven's wings. And yeah, so she has this bird reference, which I believe is also connected. But anyways, I just wanted to make these connections because, and just so you guys know, also connecting, Minnesota, it has the Vikings, which is connected to, and that's where Chad Gable's from, Vikings connected to Norse mythology. Wisconsin also being from the north, right next to Minnesota. So I do notice a lot that this Norse mythology is actually very prevalent, and a lot of people don't always decode it, but I'm always watching for it because even if you look at our days, they're named after the Roman gods, but the actual names that we give them, like Friday, are more connected to the Norse gods. Because Friday and Freya is more closely resembling than, same thing with Tuesday, I believe.
Well, and Thursday is Thor.
Right. Yeah. So, and Wednesday is Woden, which is Odin.
Right.
So you actually could say that the way they made the language, they really wanted to point us towards the Norse gods as well, not just the Roman. But yeah, anyway, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Derek, but
you mentioned the FV with Fiserv. The team that the Bucks beat for the championship was from the Phoenix Valley, right? So another FV sound. I don't know. Might not be a coincidence.
Well, that could also connect to Phi, has that same sound. Phi, golden ratio.
Yeah, it was just interesting that they beat the Suns because, this was in 2021. It was on the anniversary of the moon landing when they captured the championship. It was July 20th. And, it was the latest finals in history because of the scamdemic the prior year. Mm-hmm. And the July full moon is called the Buck Moon. So the Bucks won on the anniversary of the moon landing just a few days before the Buck Moon. And it was against the Suns. So a strong astrological element to that championship. And as we saw, it's all synced up to the convention coming up in about 2 weeks.
Yeah. And so that means that this month will also be the Buck Moon, right?
Yep. Yeah. The full moon that occurs, I guess, around the time that the convention begins, maybe during the convention.
Well, that immediately makes me think of Leave the World Behind.
Yeah, the full moon is actually on the 21st of July. That'll be the Buck Moon.
Okay. So, Leave the World Behind was pointing us to the Buck because they just randomly. I mean, of course, if you watch the movie, you understand why the Buck is on there, but it just seems like it's randomly weird to put a buck on a movie called Leave the World Behind. It doesn't normally, you wouldn't think there'd be a much of association with a buck and Leave the World Behind, but
it's our it's the state animal here is the white-tailed deer.
Oh, okay. And so this makes me think of the 128 code, because it's coming up a lot too. As Derek mentioned, Rittenhouse, when he had his incident in Wisconsin on August 25th, 2020, that was on the 128 days left in the year, and it was in lunation 1208. And of course, Leave the World Behind was released on 12/8. It had a bridge collapse connection, which bridge collapse equals 128. And then I just actually revealed that if you go to Obama when he was in the classroom, did you ever see that, Derek? My video I did on that, where Obama was in the classroom on December 12th last year.
Yeah, in fact, that inspired me to do a post and video on that too. Yeah, there's a big tower connection with that one.
Yeah, well, it was crazy because it was exactly 8,128 days after 9/11. And there you go. You got the 128 again. And that's a perfect number also. And so that was connected to the perfect number riddle that I showed. But I just find it interesting that the perfect number that lined up with Obama being in the classroom was 8,128. And of course, President Barack Obama equals 128. And in fact, I believe that President Donald John Trump equals 128 in the same cipher.
Nice.
So, yeah, it just seemed, and as Casey's pointed out many times, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama are born exactly 128 weeks apart.
And just the other numbers you had too. I mean, we mentioned the 295, the 115. I didn't even see those before.
Yeah, I saw the 115 there. I didn't even see that either. Because I often don't type in his full name and his President Donald John Trump.
Right. It seems arbitrary, but it's strange how it all connects, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah, just to show also what I said there about Obama and Michelle Obama. So, what are the chances that Michelle Obama and Barack Obama are born exactly 128 weeks apart? And so, what was my original thought I was trying to talk about, though? I seem to have lost it. Oh, the bridge collapse. I noticed that we had that shooting, that recent shooting in, was it Iowa? That one you talked about, the Forsyth
Arkansas.
Fordyce,
Arkansas.
Fordyce, yeah. And so the name of that shooter equaled 128. And so that shooting happened on, what was the date of that shooting again? It was June 21st.
June 21st.
And of course, because the shooter's name, which I can't remember right now, which is why I didn't bring it up, but the shooter's name equaled 128. And what's interesting is if you go from the last birthday of Francis Scott Key, because the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed at 1:28 a.m. If you go from his last birthday to the shooting in Fordyce, it was 325 or 326 days. Well, that's the date of the bridge collapse.
So it was Travis Posey. That's 128 reverse.
Yeah, Travis Posey. So yeah, it's got that 128 again. And when that happened, I said that was all about a maritime thing, which also equals 128. But so I just found it really interesting that if you go from Francis Scott Key's last birthday to the shooting of with the guy with the 128 gematria, it's the date of the bridge collapse. And it could also be 41 days before Francis Scott Key's next birthday. And of course, the word key equals 41. So yeah, just a big riddle with the 128s. And Donut, the big channel's been bringing that up a lot too on his channel. And I know Joseph has talked a lot about the 128. But yeah, that's just kind of, I think there was something else I wanted to say, but that, you got anything to add, Derek?
No, I think this well is dry.
Okay. Well, let me see if anyone else has anything else to add in the chat. Yeah, Joseph's typing out all the 128s. Bridge collapsed 128, 128 days from Francis Scott Key's birthday, collapsed at 128.
There was a bridge collapse on 128 in Pennsylvania on the same day Joe Biden was there to talk about the new infrastructure bill.
Yeah, Fern Hollow, and that equals 128.
That's right.
Fern Hollow was the Fern Hollow Bridge collapsed on 128. So, yeah, there's some. I mean, I could probably. My biggest video I ever had on this channel was from when Donut shouted me out because of the 128 bridge collapse. And a lot of people just in the normal truth community that don't even know gematria, they know the 128 code now, because Donut has been really flaunting that code. And also he talked a lot about like Blink 182, which is kind of the inverse of or anagram of the 128. But yeah.
Nice.
Joseph said immunity from prosecution equals 128. Interesting. That's what happened yesterday, 128 days before the election. Yeah, that's crazy. So there's something up with these numbers, though. If you notice, like, you have the 128, then you have the 138, then you have the 148. Those are the numbers I've been seeing so much connected to Trump, and it's weird that, you know, it's almost like something with those numbers to continue to come up. But
yep, yeah, it could be surrounded by a 1 and an 8, which is the sum of 666, which is like one of the huge numbers that surrounds Trump. So could be connected.
Casey says July 5th is the new moon Sun-Sirius conjunction and is the 225th lunar month after the start of the construction of One World Trade Center. Huh. Good one. Well, thank you guys again if you guys please hit the like buttons. I guess we're going to call this a stream now. Unless, Derek, you have anything, final thoughts, anything you want to add? I know your well's dry, but
Yeah, not really. I mean, you know, I think you usually link to my channel below. So a video I did yesterday talked a little bit more about that Racine County executive who died and the big Freemasonry riddle, how it all tied to the Austrian Grand Prix, which was won by the big Skull and Bones character out there. So, yeah, that's, you know, just recent work up there. I also got a Rumble page in case anyone's on there. Do you mind if I upload this video to Rumble, by the way?
No, go ahead.
All right, I'll probably do that tomorrow then. But no, that's all I got. Thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks again to Cody for having me on. Great work on your slides. I think we did a lot to explain why this is all happening in Milwaukee, and I think everyone kind of understands what the riddle is now based on that.
Yeah, I think together we nailed it. I think we nailed it on the head together. Working together is way better than, because I saw a lot of things or you saw a lot of things that I just didn't have time to see. And then, you know, I made the connections too. And then again, thanks to KJ Malone for making the initial connection with the 1256. But yeah, it's great to have the help in the community. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. I mean, it's like we gave the riddle the same head wound you see Gable there with.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, and yeah, we'll do it again. Derek hopefully will be a regular guest on here, and, you know, hopefully Sean will eventually. I don't think Sean's even in the chat. I haven't seen him.
I saw him earlier.
Oh, was he in the chat? I didn't see him.
Just briefly.
Yeah, unfortunately he's probably working, but also I definitely look for a roundtable in July. I'm planning that for sure. Maybe right before the convention. So
yeah, have our own little convention here.
Yeah, so Joseph, Zenith, Casey, Sean, all you guys, watch out for that. I'll try to make it on a weekend because for Sean's sake and probably for other people's sake as well. Oh, Sean has been here. Did you want to come on and share anything? Derek, you can go whenever you want. I don't know if Sean has time to jump on and share anything that he saw, or I'm just giving him the option to do it.
Yeah, it's all good. I'll probably drop off.
Okay.
I get to a couple things here. So thanks again for having me on, and peace, love, and God bless everyone.
Yeah. See you later, man. Take care.
All right. See ya.
Oh. So Sean says that we were talking about the 307. And so 307 minutes into the day is 187 minutes. Yeah, that's crazy. That connects with the Freemasonry thing and the 187. But yeah, thanks, Sean, so much for sharing that. Hope to have you on soon again. As I told you, I miss having you on. Yeah, Errant Protocol. I just wanted to add that too. He says that I forgot to mention that. I was talking about how V is for Venus and Freya and Vanadium. Vanadium is named after Vanadis, which is the Norse god Freya. So even if you go to the periodic table, and look for the element with the V, it's connected to Venus. Okay, it connects to Freya. It connects to Vanadis, which connects to Freya, which connects to Venus. And notice that it's the 23rd element. 2 plus 3 is 5. Of course, Venus makes the pentagram, which is 5. So, yeah, amazing stuff. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Errant Protocol. Joseph, he says Stormy's birthday is 3/17, like V for Vendetta's birthday release day. That's a good catch. V for Vendetta came out on Stormy Daniels' birthday. I wonder what year. I'll have to look more into that. I wonder what year, her birth year, that it came out on. That's interesting. Hey, Joseph, can you write in the chat what year Stormy Daniels was born? I'll just look it up. I forgot what year she's born. Oh, shoot. Sorry, guys. I know I was almost going to get off here, then I got sidetracked, but I just wanted to add a few more things. March 17th, 1979. And V for Vendetta was released March 17th, 2006. So her oh wow. So it was released on her 27th birthday, guys. So V for Vendetta was released on her 27th birthday. And I told you this is about Venus. Venus equals 27. So it's very interesting that V for Vendetta came out on Stormy Daniels' 27th birthday. Look at that. 1408 weeks, man, into her life. Well, there's the riddle. She was in her 1408 weeks into her life. Yeah, so there you go. Venus 27, planet Venus 148, morning star 148, Donald J. Trump 148, Trump's book The Art of the Deal 148, Beast System 148. So I think that's pretty clear. It makes you wonder about August 14th this year, maybe something. Yeah, Mar-a-Lago. Trump's Mar-a-Lago was raided. $148. And of course, 5th of November, the election. $148. Guy Fawkes Day, the election day. $148. So, and Derek had said that Trump, look at this, guys, Trump will be exactly on election day this year. Trump will be exactly 1048 lunar orbits. Do you guys understand what I'm showing you here? Like, Stormy Daniels was in her 1040, or I can't remember if it was 1040 or what it was. Let me go back and see. Hold on. $14.08. So Stormy Daniels was in the 1408 week of her life when V for Vendetta was born. Trump will be 1048 sidereal moon orbits old on election day. And again, it's on the 5th of November. Sorry, spelled it the wrong way. 5th of November. So again, I think you guys get the point. So, with that being said, I think that's a good place to end. That's another great point. Man, you guys are laying it down right now. 225th day of the year is 814. So both these numbers are connected to Venus. Crazy. There's a movie. Joseph says there's a movie called 1408. Wow. Yeah, we need to watch this movie. Somebody needs to watch this movie. I didn't even know about it. Yeah, just a slice of pie. I saw what you said. 225th day is one day before 814. Yeah. Wow. Sean blowing my mind. The prime factorization of 138 is 2 times 3 times 23, which is also Lucifer, 323, from 148, like the date, 1408 to 2323 is 787 weeks, the 138th prime. That's another number connected. So that's insane. But yeah, thank you guys so much for sharing. Joseph says 1408 is in a New York hotel. Really? Huh. Okay, well, yeah, I might try to look into this movie. I also need to finish watching V for Vendetta. What movie was released? What movie was released on June 22nd, 2000? Let's just look it up real fast before I get off here. I got time. 1408 film. Stephen King film, huh? Has John Cusack. Remember how John Cusack was in Cell? So June 22nd, 2007. Let's look at this. Oh man, it's close. It's almost 138 days before the election. Not quite though. Interesting. I guess I should see how far this is from the movie V for Vendetta. So it's exactly 66 weeks after V for Vendetta came out. This movie came out. This movie. Yeah, but okay, well, here's your homework, everyone. Here's the homework. So Stormy Daniels was 1,408 weeks old the day V for Vendetta came out. And then you have this movie called 1408. So let's see what we can find. And look at the key, man. Like, are you kidding me? The key? I mean, that's just in itself is crazy. Huh. Makes you think of the Vatican, right? It's a scary one, huh? That's what Sven Dab says. I think 111 represents the twin trinity. From 111 to 814 is 216 days. 84 is the 216 day of the year. Yeah, that's a good one. Oh, wow. So Sean, thank you. Sean just pointed out that this movie 1408 came out 2 days before Benoit. That was the day of the death of his wife. Wow. Crazy. Casey's saying that the planet Chiron, I don't know if I said that right. Chiron is the key symbol, right? Casey also says Rambo also teaches the key symbolizes Pluto, keys to the golden and silver gates. Yep. Hey, it'd be nice to. I can ask you in private, but I can say it here too. It'd be nice to see if Rambo would want to join the round table. You guys remember Rambo, right? 11/1/2024 is the true Pluto return, according to Stellarium, exactly 47 years after Chiron was discovered. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, guys, I'm going to get off here. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you guys for adding everything. Please hit the like buttons on the way out. Let's see if we can get the like buttons up to 120. We're at 109 right now. Let's see if we can get to 120. If you guys want to support the channel, there's a link, buy me a coffee at the top. And thank you guys so much, as always, for supporting and liking and commenting. And thanks again to Derek. If you guys want to check out Derek's channel, Gematrinator85, it's pinned to the top of this video. It's right there below the description. Check his channel out. Much love to him, and thanks for joining. And thanks to everyone in the chat. I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.